The WNBA All-Star game ratings dropped 40%, and ESPN didn't want you to know why. Instead of owning up to the steep decline, they tried something else, a data sleight of hand. They skipped the 2024 numbers completely, the ones that broke records, and compared this year's performance to 2023 instead. That's not a mistake, that's a strategy, a way to hide the fact that one player's absence wasn't just felt, it changed everything. That player is Caitlin Clark. And this isn't just a story about ratings, it's about media manipulation, public trust, and the fragile reality of a billion-dollar league built on one name. Let's break it down. In 2024, the WNBA All-Star game drew 3.44 million viewers. This year, just 2.2 million. That's a 36% nosedive, a dramatic plunge by any standard. But instead of reporting that drop, ESPN buried the headline. They carefully compared the 2025 viewership to 2023 instead, a time when Caitlin Clark hadn't even gone pro. By doing that, ESPN was able to say the game was up 158%, a headline that sounds like growth, a feel-good stat. But it's not just misleading, it's manipulative. Because 2024 was the real peak, the benchmark, the Caitlin Clark effect in full swing. And by skipping over it, ESPN revealed more than they realized. They showed us what they were afraid of. The truth slipping out wasn't accidental, it was inevitable. Some of ESPN's own journalists couldn't stay silent. Christine Brennan, a respected veteran in sports media, took to social media to question the narrative. She didn't mince words, she called it what it was, a misrepresentation. Then Austin Karp from Sports Business Journal added fuel to the fire. His reporting laid out the uncomfortable truth that ESPN was dancing around. Caitlin Clark equals ratings. When she's not on the court, the numbers collapse. Karp's analysis tracked multiple events, each one following a pattern. Games, interviews, and appearances with Clark consistently drew historic numbers. Without her, there was a clear, measurable drop. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a trend. And once people saw the pattern, the rest of the story came into focus. The moment Clark announced she'd sit out the All-Star game due to a groin injury, everything changed. Ticket prices dropped 48% within hours. Secondary market tickets fell from $121 to $64 almost overnight. Social media was flooded with fans announcing canceled plans, refund requests, and outright boycotts. For many, it wasn't just disappointment, it was protest. Not against the league, but against how it was treating its biggest star. People were fed up, and the numbers reflected that. ESPN tried to say it wasn't a boycott, that it was still a sellout. But the receipts told a different story. The drop in ticket prices wasn't theoretical, it was real. It was measurable. It was visible across every platform. And behind every canceled ticket was a frustrated fan asking the same question. Why are you pretending Caitlin Clark doesn't matter? At her, it wasn't just the league that felt the sting. Indianapolis had prepared for an economic boom. Local businesses stocked up on Indiana Fever merchandise. Hotels had overbooked, expecting a surge. Restaurants and shops geared up for what was supposed to be a massive Clark-fueled tourism wave. Then she was ruled out, and just like that, the momentum disappeared. Merchandise didn't sell. Traffic dried up. Out-of-town fans never showed. The city lost more than a game, it lost a weekend of revenue. All because one player wasn't available. And still, ESPN stuck to its spin. This is where it gets deeper, because ESPN isn't just a sports network. It's a stakeholder in the WNBA. That means it has money riding on the league's success. And when a network that's financially invested in a product is also in charge of reporting on it, that's a conflict of interest. Full stop. They promoted Clark all season long as the face of growth, the spark behind rising viewership, the ticket-selling machine. But the second those numbers crashed without her, the story changed. Suddenly, ESPN pivoted, no one player matters, they claimed. So which is it? Either Caitlin Clark is the reason for the surge, or individual stars don't impact the league. They can't have it both ways. That contradiction didn't go unnoticed, and for many viewers, it damaged more than ESPN's credibility. It weakened their trust in the entire sport. And here's where the real damage starts. WNBA players are currently fighting for better pay. One of their biggest arguments? Rising ratings, growth, momentum. But if ESPN is manipulating the numbers to cover a 36% drop, it kills that momentum in negotiation rooms. When Clark plays, the league thrives. When she doesn't, it crashes. Hiding that truth hurts everyone, especially the athletes trying to secure their future. This wasn't just a bad week for ESPN, it was a betrayal of the players they claimed to support. So what led to Clark sitting out in the first place? It started with the officiating. Game after game, Clark took hits with no fouls called. It became a storyline of its own fans watching her get shoved, slammed, elbowed. The frustration built up. Then came the 15th of July. Clark aggravated a groin injury during a win over Connecticut. That was it. She announced she'd sit out All-Star weekend, and the house of cards collapsed. Some fans blamed the league for letting things go too far. Others pointed at the referees, but the sentiment was the same: this shouldn't have happened. And without Clark, the illusion was gone. Nafisa Collier dropped 36 points and won MVP. But barely anyone noticed. There were no viral highlights, no trending hashtags, no surge in jersey sales, and no boost in viewers. That silence was louder than any headline. It proved what ESPN didn't want to admit: Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the league's gravitational center. Everything orbits around her, and when she's missing, it all floats away. Even ESPN's desperate pivot to the Friday Night Skills Challenge couldn't mask it. They bragged about 1.3 million viewers, but failed to mention it was in prime time, with a new format and lingering hope Clark might still appear. The bump had nothing to do with league interest. It was wishful thinking, plain and simple. But this story doesn't end at the US border. The WNBA is pushing international expansion, global broadcasting rights, overseas partnerships. But here's the thing: foreign media companies analyze data very closely. They don't buy hype, they buy numbers. And ESPN's credibility crisis now threatens global deals. If international investors realize they were shown inflated metrics, stats designed to prop up the illusion of growth, they'll pull back. The league's dream of going global suddenly looks fragile. And it gets worse. Advertisers buy commercial slots based on expected viewership. If those projections are inflated by comparing 2025 to 2023, instead of the real benchmark year, they're making business decisions on false pretenses. That opens the door to refund demands, renegotiations, and a drop in ad revenue that hits everyone: ESPN, the league, and the players. All because someone didn't want to admit we're struggling without Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just about one weekend, this was a warning. ESPN's attempt to rewrite the narrative revealed the league's dependency on Clark not just as a star, but as a lifeline. And in doing so, they may have weakened the very foundation they were trying to protect. Social media caught on. Fans weren't fooled. Sponsors took notice. And the damage went beyond numbers. It hit trust, the most valuable currency in sports media. Because once your audience stops believing your stats, they stop watching altogether. You can fake a storyline. You can cherry-pick the data. But you can't fake public reaction. The ticket prices dropped, the fans left, the local businesses lost money, and the viewership cratered. That's not spin, that's reality. And it all came down to one missing name on the court: Caitlin Clark. If ESPN, with all its investment in the WNBA, won't tell the truth about how vital she is, why should sponsors believe in the hype? Why should fans buy in? Why should players trust the system? Clark doesn't need ESPN to fake the numbers. Her impact speaks for itself. The real question is, who else does?